How do you go? And looks like we're live. All right. Uh, so it usually show if there's people like that come in, or like does it show the view count on here?
Yeah, it will.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and do the intro. All right. So welcome to the first ever WMMA Q&A. I'm your host, Chuck Stevenson, WMMAC Now. I'm joined by Drake Riggs, who is the host of the Broadened Horizons podcast and co-host of the WMMA Today podcast, which you can catch every Wednesday at what time, Drake?
6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Generally, we flop around every now and then, but that's the usual set time.
And then my only closest thing I have to a regular show is the WMMA Scene Report, which I do like Wednesdays, Thursdays, and it's not even every week lately because there's not much going on right now.
Oh.
Except Verizon.
Right.
2 days. So, Drake, why don't you go ahead and start talking about how you tell everyone how you got into MMA, how you got into the ladies. What was your first women's MMA fight you ever watched?
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Chuck, man. First of all, thanks for doing this with me, dude. It's a bit of a reunion, going back to the Sherdog days, which is where the media journey began for me. But MMA overall, well, originally, I used to be, I think, like probably most people who get into MMA, maybe not most people, I don't know. But I liked WWE. I was a really hardcore WWE fan growing up. And just eventually, once I discovered real fighting, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is way better because it's real. And as you get older, you kind of see that, pro wrestling's not exactly the realest thing, fun theatrics and all that. But once you see the real deal, I was kind of like, oh shit, I'm captivated by this now. And the first fight I saw was GSP versus BJ Penn 2. So I was like, that's about, highest quality that you could start with. So I was hooked right from that. And so that was in 2009. So I've been a fan for over 11 years now, and then gradually ended up getting into, writing and media stuff, which started with Sherdog, which I found Sherdog in like 2010 and just became a poster on the forums and everything. And, we chit-chatted it up plenty back in the day there. I know you're still doing your thing, going strong. Eventually worked my way up to moderator, admin, and that led to Sherdog Q&As, bringing the fighters on, like Reddit style. And then I decided, what's that?
It was a classic.
Yeah, right. Decided, hey, maybe I could, do a little bit more with this. Wanted to write, and kind of took off from there after I left. And to keep the story short, we'll start off here. But as for the women, first female fight that I saw, oh man, that's a tough. It probably was Gina versus Cyborg, honestly. Like when that went down, because that was at the time, like, kind of
And I think
talked about. Maybe, I don't know. It's funny, I don't remember specifically which one it was, but I remember initially when I first saw women fighting, I was kind of like not sure how I felt about it, which is funny in hindsight because, I'm all about just fighting in general now, but I wasn't really sold on really if they were like good enough. The quality overall was good enough to be like in the UFC or something, for example. So after I saw Misha versus Julie Kedzie, though, I was like, okay, this fight was insane. I think they deserve, a shot on the big stage. So that was the one that really got me like, okay, they definitely deserve, their spotlight. So,
oh yeah, that's one of my top 10 women's fights ever.
yeah.
Which you can go check that video out if you want later on.
Yes.
All right, so I'll talk about myself. I actually got into MMA. I walked into January 2005. I needed to do something to get in shape before I head to the Air Force. I was on delayed enlistment. And my mom was like, well, why don't you go with your brother and his friend? They joined this gym. You should check it out. The way she described it, I was thinking, this sounds like Boxercise or Taibo, but I'll go check it out. Walk in, and it's an MMA gym. The guy has now closed it since then. He had it going for like a lot of years. Just closed it within the last year or two. But got hooked. Got into the sport. The first UFC live I ever watched was probably, I think, UFC 52. That was the first time I saw GSP when he beat up Mayhem Miller. First ladies fight I watched was, I actually looked this up earlier because I knew it was a Debbie Purcell fight. Debbie Purcell versus Nicole Albrecht at King of the Cage Underground 2, which took place in October of 2002, but I watched it in 2005. I had bought a big box set of King of the Cage, like their really old school events.
Nice.
So, Debbie Purcell, if you're not familiar watching and not familiar with her, she didn't do so much as a fighter, but what she did, she ran, I think it was like fightergirls.net, which was like the place to go to for to check out a lot of the lady fighters and stay up to date on their records, because they were allowed to update their own records and stuff. So I think the website's long defunct now, but it was like one of the key things for early WMMA to keep track of. So then let's see, basically followed the ladies off and on for like a lot of years. And then I think around when Strike Force picked up is when I started to get back more into it. It's hard to keep track of for a lot of years because, you know, internet, you know, social media and stream were like still new. So yeah, good luck finding a live stream of like Smack Girl.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Jules. So it's hard to find that until really, Strike Force picked it up in the US. And then once Invicta started, I was full blown into it. And then started this channel just over it was like earlier this month was the 3rd-year anniversary. So that's how I got into women's MMA.
Oh, very nice.
Still waiting on some questions. I don't know. Did you get any questions?
I did not get any.
I didn't either. So the problem with mostly advertising on Twitter is you only have so many followers, and if people don't retweet it, then
it dropped something in the women's chat in SureDog.
Yeah.
See if they show up.
Yeah, I can do that. All right. So while we're waiting and seeing if anyone shows up, who are your picks for Ryzen this was it Thursday night, Friday? No, Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, Wednesday night-ish, a little bit for me. My picks, boy. Well, I feel like the picks are pretty, on paper, they're pretty simple to make, right? Like Ayaka and Kana should win, but I think that the fights will definitely be very interesting and see how they play out. But I feel like in terms of who the favorites are, those are the obvious. They definitely should be the favorites, those two. And then, of course, there's the high schooler fight happening, which I don't know anything about them because they're high schoolers, but I'm very intrigued to see how that plays out, kicking things off. I don't know if they're even going to air that one, which will be interesting to see. Yeah. So, not sure about that one, but I'm very excited for both of the big fights.
So, I picked Ayaka myself. I think Miyu can pull it off. I just think that it's a long shot.
More ways to win for Ayaka.
Oh, definitely. And Ayaka, like Miyu she'd have to make a big enough mistake for Miyu to capitalize on it. Like when Ham caught her in that triangle and had her stuck there for like 1 second. But definitely way more ways for Miyu to win or Ayaka to win, especially submissions, which Miyu just likes to get caught in.
She's done better lately. She's done a lot better in this recent stretch.
For Asuka versus I got to go with Kana too. I just think she has more ways to win, and they're both wrestlers. And I think Asuka is just a way better wrestler, and she's been in there with just way better competition.
Yeah.
For the high schoolers, I picked Sakura, just because she has more pro experience. I think 4 fights to none. Mm-hmm. And but the other girl, that Eru Takebayashi, she looks all right too. Looks promising. I watched 2 of her recent amateur fights, which both happened within the last 2 months. So, I mean, she just fought a week ago. So she looks
really wow.
Too. But Sakura is definitely someone to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, and that fight's at what, 112 catch weight, right?
Yeah, 112.
Yeah.
And the others are super atoms, so would not be surprised if Ryzen had them come out in their school uniforms, though.
That would be perfect.
I feel like it's Asian MMA; they have to come out in school. Really.
Oh boy, no, I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. Uh,
You
the
must do it
interesting
for my
thing,
full honor.
yeah, the interesting thing for me about Kana versus or one of the more interesting things, is, I like to look at like the outside factors and everything. And of course, speaking to both of them before this fight, I found it very interesting, like just some little things. Like I talked to both of them on Mondays. So it was like right after the weekend. And I was just like, oh, how'd the weekend go for you? And it was it's a small thing, but like Kana was like, oh yeah, I just kind of rested, you know, relaxed on Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And I was like, full focus training mode. She's like, yeah, I just kept training as usual, going very hard at this moment. So, I mean, not much to look into, but like those little things. And then just how I understands completely the position she's in, where Kana's the superstar compared to her, and the experience. Like, she admits that she knows Kana's like better and everything, but she's very fueled by this underdog role that she's in, and doesn't even believe that she should get like a title shot if she wins and everything. Which you're like, well, I get where you're coming from, because your experience, you'd only have six wins if you do, but beating Kana, who is an established elite, atom weight at this point, it's hard
Like,
for me to assume that they won't get the title shot, either of them. So
yeah, I mean, it's like if you don't think you'll get a title shot, well, who would you face after that? Would you face Miyu? Like they're,
yeah, whoever loses, maybe
I don't know.
Rena.
Well, who would Ayaka face afterwards? So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess Ryzen could possibly bring over Alicia Zapatella for Ayaka. I think that'd be an alright fight.
I don't expect that to happen during this current era of the COVID
No,
stuff, but
yeah, yeah,
but that would be cool. That'd be a good idea.
yeah. Well, I know Miyu has spent the last like couple weeks in quarantine, but she's at her dad's house,
Hmm.
and she's got
Yeah,
Kyle there, so her husband. So she's been training with him, working out outside.
yeah.
There, I mean, they're rich. They probably have like a nice house with a yard.
They're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were in Guam for pretty much the whole time. They said since Kyle's fight in February.
gee,
After that, that was the last time they'd been in Japan until now. So
nice.
yeah.
And then what else? Oh, was it Shiyu Park that just fought at Jules? She spent like 2 weeks right before her fight in quarantine. So, like, she said the only thing she could do was focus on keep her weight cut. That's insane.
Yeah.
And then she came out the winner of a decision. So, but she almost lost. Like she won on one judge's card, and then the other two judges had it a draw because she lost a point. She got a point deducted because she soccer kicked Saori Oshima.
As you
And
do. As you do.
yeah, hey, she's prepping for Ryzen, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone pulls out, boom, let's get her. She's
Come
right
on.
there. Yeah. But so Jules, because most of their fights are 2 rounds, they have a must rule. So you must make a decision. So they gave it to Shiyu Park. But yeah, she spent 2 weeks in quarantine, and now she said she's staying in Japan until March. So I forget what gym she found to train at, but she's found somewhere to train at till then.
Yeah. Just an interesting situation to be, in that spot, getting ready for a fight, of all things. Like,
She got guts. I'll give her that.
yeah, no kidding.
So nobody yet. Yeah, hopefully they lower the quarantine rules sometime soon. Like maybe, hopefully, spring rolls around, and I don't know. It's getting hard because I know like a lot of Korean fighters have been off all year because there's only been like a few Korean events. And they can't go to Japan because of the quarantine rules. So
Yeah.
which made it weird for Park to do it. But she's like, I haven't fought in a year. I got to go fight.
Yeah, seriously. I know, just hopefully things clear up sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
It's the big thing. But
Let's see what else. See, Cheyenne Base announced that she has a fight scheduled.
oh, was that today? I might have missed that.
Yeah, I think it was earlier today. And then, let me see. And then Kay Hansen tweeted that she has a contract signed
Saw
too,
that.
so it might be a potential fight there.
Yeah, very possible. So we could talk about Kay though. I mean, what I think we had kind of the same feeling about it when she was signed. Like a little bit. It felt a little bit too soon for me. Even though, and then even after beating Jin, just because Jin's kind of in a weird spot now, and then the Corey McKenna fight, which I really had, I thought that was a bit of a robbery, and I'm not one to call robbery really, but that one I thought was very clear for Kay. I think I even could have seen her getting all 3 rounds, but that was very shocking to me that she didn't get the victory in that one. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's weird.
I thought her signing was weird because it's like I thought that she hadn't answered a lot of questions about her in Invicta because she lost to Samova last year, and then they gave her like 2 strikers with 0 takedown defense after that. So I was like, well, are they ever going to give her another grappler or what? And then
like even though she beat who was it?
Jacobson,
Yeah, Jacobson. You know, she was getting just totally handled.
14 minutes, 45 seconds,
Yeah.
and an armbar out of nowhere. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I was
By
there.
Jacobson's mistake too.
Yeah, I was there for that. Jacobson walked out of the cage, and they were like trying to direct her where to go, and she was just walking around like you could see the frustration was getting to her. She was like, she'd walk one direction, then she'd like turn around, walk the other, and she was just like still processing. Like, how did I lose this? And it was like I felt for her, and
yeah,
like they were trying to tell her where to go. I was like, just let her go, do what she wants.
yeah, wherever she feels like.
Yeah,
Brutal.
but yeah, I thought Kay's signing was early, and I thought McKenna's was too. I was like, to me, she only showed one dimension in her fight, really, with Demopoulos. I was like, they just signed so many fighters from Contender Series this year that I thought was like, why?
Well, how about Wolf?
Yeah,
I should get into that. That's a big bag of worms.
But yeah, McKenna versus Hansen. I thought Hansen probably won that too.
Yeah.
But I just have a thing against any Team Alpha male fighters, so,
So just automatically.
like that's like I knew like as soon as she won, you could hear Uriah Faber in the background going, "Hey, Dana!" I was like, "Yeah."
Yep, there it is. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, we got somebody in there, so feel free to interrupt us with a question. It says the WMMA Q&A, but mostly we've just been talking about. Well, we've gone over our history, did a little Ryzen preview. Now we're just talking about a couple fighters. But yeah, Hansen beat Jin, but that was also like Jin's first fight at strawweight. Up, so.
And she looked good on the feet. You know, she was beating her in the striking. So
yeah, Hansen she still needs to work on her striking a lot. Where's she training at now? Is she with she's not with MMA Gold, is she?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not totally sure. But yeah, as for Jin though, I mean, that's kind of a bummer. You know, for me having like watched so much of her career and then finally getting to the UFC and, you know, not ideally at atomweight and everything, and probably, you know, back end of her, well, you know, the back end of her career and at up a weight class where, you know, she's going to be outsized by a lot of people, even though I thought she, you know, looked very good physically against Kay. I was surprised to see how much muscle mass she put on and everything and was still retaining the speed and all that. But clearly she's, you know, just not in her prime anymore, I guess it's fair to say. So,
no, she's definitely not a strawweight either.
Yeah, exactly.
Although Loma looked good against her though too. Loma looked good, looked real good. But so Danielle Wolf, yeah, that was like out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was probably one of the weirdest moments of 2020.
And it's like, oh, Tanisha Tennant, cool. And then I was like, this is close. It's probably going to go Wolf's way, and everyone's going to bitch about it.
Pretty much what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see very few people I saw like gave it to Wolf.
I actually thought that I thought she looked better than a lot of what a lot of people were saying, and I do think that she won the fight. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, it's her debut, right? We don't need to, rush this or anything, especially at featherweight, where, if you really want to bring in, this is my big argument. If you are going to be serious about keep pretending to be serious about the division, right? Because we all know they're not. Then why waste a goddamn spot on the Contender Series rather than just signing them both and putting that fight in as a UFC card, right, on the UFC card?
Yeah,
I don't understand the point of making that a Contender Series fight. It makes no sense to me. If they're gonna sign her off of her first win, like that was just mind blowing to me.
yeah, or like, yeah, why waste the Contender Series spot? Why not just have her fight at Invicta?
Or
Or,
that, yeah.
I mean, probably just. I mean, okay, definitely more people watch Contender Series than Invicta, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Contender Series anyway. But as far as the fight goes, I thought it was like really close. So I didn't have a dog in the race either, so it didn't matter to me. But I think they should definitely try to bring in Tenet, or like let her get one more fight and then bring her in or something.
I think she looked good in the Phoenix Rising tournament. Won it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was weird. That was a weird situation. And I what are they going to do with her now? Like, how are you going to debut her in the UFC? Right? Like, you cannot put her against Felicia Spencer. What's the point of that?
Yeah, I can't put her against Spencer. Anderson would probably just try to take her down. Megan would.
Even Leah Letson, which I have no idea what's happening with her right now.
She's just been out with injuries or something. I don't think she's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
And plus, as soon as she heals, she'll probably get deployed again for the National Guard.
All right.
So.
And she wasn't even committed to featherweight anyway. So it's like.
No, it's like she fought all of her fights at bantamweight, I think, before Tough. So.
She had the Elizabeth Phillips fight in Invicta was featherweight with the head kick.
Didn't Phillips come in as like a late replacement, so that's why she moved up or something?
You might be right about that. Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, that was a nice head kick.
That was good. Yeah. That was like what put her on the map, really, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Haven't heard it from Phillips, I don't think, since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, who are they? They're going to have to find someone else to bring in from out of nowhere, assign her, and hope that Wolf beats her, and then who knows?
I just wish. I hate to say that. I just hate how it's played out for specifically the actual featherweights. Megan and Felicia, who have just been stuck in this like whirlpool of featherweight bullshit because the UFC it's not really doing them any career favors. Of course, they're probably getting decent pay compared to where else they could be, like Invicta or whatever. But
right, when they actually get to fight.
Yeah. When they get to fight, right, and not just each other over and over, which it seems like would be what's going to happen if they keep this facade going. But just let Bellator have the win. They have the featherweight division. They have all the featherweights. The division it's going to have been 4 years in February since the UFC started their division, which is peaked out at maybe a generous 8 fighters total throughout 4 years. I'm being very generous with that number, but people who have either had fights or said they're going to be featherweights, bantamweights who went up and down, Holly Germain, all that nonsense. So just let it go. Let them go to Bellator where they can actually fight more frequently than they are. And the growth of the division isn't happening. It's been the 4 years, right? And they haven't picked up people, or let Bellator get them.
Yeah, that's been my thing. Is just okay. Nunes beats Anderson. Let them all go to Bellator, and then Bellator will have like the best featherweights in the world, minus like Pam Sorensen, and then they'll have like at least they'll actually have more actual featherweights because half of their division is still bantamweights moved up. So let them build the division. And a lot of people say if you build it, they will come. It's like, well, you have to have something to build with. There's no real. The featherweight division has been around, like established in the U.S. at least since Strikeforce.
Yeah, it's one of the older ones.
Cyborg practically killed it single-handedly, which I won't even get into that because I don't want to Cyborg rant. But Invicta tried and has largely not been able to do it. Bellator's trying. UFC never really. UFC just tried to do it to get a return on interest, return on their investment from Cyborg is my opinion on it. And then they got sick of Cyborg. They're like, fine, here's the Nunes fight. And then Nunes beat her. And then my opinion is that Cyborg really did not want that rematch. I will contend that to the end of my days, because why would you start just attacking the UFC knowing that they'll just like get rid of you? I don't know.
That's a tricky one. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that whole situation, because it's definitely not the smartest idea if you're gonna go for it.
Right. Like she started attacking Joe Rogan over something that he didn't even say. It was something someone else said on his podcast like 5 years prior. Started attacking Dana White, and it's like they created a championship for you that you then turned down 2 different fight dates for, so they had to put someone else in there for the title. And then I just can't get into the Cyborg. I'll go into like an hour-long rant.
That's what it'll turn into.
And I'll go 6-pound bikini on her.
Oh man. Yeah, featherweight is
right now. Bellator is the best place for the featherweights.
Yeah.
I mean, no one else is really promoting them. I mean, PFL is trying to do their thing with Kayla Harrison at lightweight. I mean, she could fight at featherweight. She just showed that, but she's already booked for the next year. So maybe after that, she'll come down to featherweight. But
yeah. I think the ultimate goal for her should be Bellator, right?
Yeah. Invicta or Bellator. Bellator is going to, pay more what she's looking for salary-wise. But, yeah, Bellator featherweight. And then, I don't know. It's hard to say what she wants to do because
I mean, let's imagine that she could, if she was to go to the UFC, then the only thing for her is a Nunes fight, which teammates and Nunes might not even be around by that time. So it's like,
yeah, she's been talking about retirement off and on for 2 years now, something like that.
Roughly.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing left to prove.
She always fight Spencer. Get that Florida rivalry going on.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know. I just think the featherweight division in the UFC, if Nunes wins against Megan, then over. If Megan wins, then you can milk the rematch, and then I guess depending on how that goes, you could maybe milk a trilogy. But then after that, there's nothing left unless they drastically change things and decide to finally bring in Pam Sorensen, Caitlin Young, these people who got shafted on The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. But that's not going to happen. We all know that. So it's like
that whole Ultimate Fighter show was like a farce.
Man.
They passed on the actual featherweights that showed up. They had flyweight show up and try out. Royal Frausto tried out. It's like, what are you doing?
That's right. Yeah, that was silly. Now bringing back The Ultimate Fighter, apparently. We'll see how that goes.
Fine by me. Bring back up. Get rid of Contender Series. I'm sick. I mean, how many Dana White vanity projects do you need? Which Tough ended up being one. Contender Series obviously it has his name on it. He had Dana White looking for a fight, which he hasn't. That got old. I think that got too expensive. They're like, we'll just bring everybody in. Dana doesn't want to have to sit through those crappy regional shows. Just bring.
Well, they're not going on anymore. First of all.
Oh yeah.
So.
But I mean, even pre-COVID, I think he was like, I'm not going to Timbuktu and watching some regional show in a county fairgrounds arena.
That was an episode. I remember that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one. UFC atom weight. Do you think it happens in 2021?
No, I think the boat's missed. I feel like a broken record in saying this, but I think the perfect time was when Jin was the champion after she won the Grusander rematch. But that was about what, December 2018 now, so 2 years ago. I think that would have been the perfect time because just imagine. Ideally, I think you would want to start with somebody who a marketable, good atomweight champion. Jin finally becomes a champion, a good name. She's got a fan base around her. Have her in, the debut UFC fight against, let's say, this is just how I imagine they would do it, right? Like a strawweight dropping down, like let's say Michelle Waterson or Carla Esparza. Michelle Waterson, easy story there, considering she was a former atomweight champion and everything. Torres, even like all the usual suspects you would think of at strawweight that would drop down, maybe. So something like that, but and then of course they could take as much of the Invicta division as they wanted if they were really serious about starting it up, but they didn't do that, and now I just feel like things are too. I mean, they've always been spread out at atomweight, right? There was a point where I felt that atomweight was kind of on the same level of featherweight in terms of depth, but I think since that was about like 4 or 5 years ago that I felt it that way. Since then, it's really grown a lot, but the talent worldwide is very spread out. Like Invicta, and it's all mostly in Asia, is where the best of the best are.
It's Ryzen one,
Hmm.
which I mean, theirs is that straw weight, and there's definitely some like legit straw weights in there, but they also have some like smaller fighters that could fight at atom weight. Road has some, but they've been off for the entire year because of COVID.
Yep.
And Deep Jewels,
Hmm.
Jewels. So yeah, they're spread between 4 organizations and like based in 3 different countries. So
Hmm. And Shingo, shout out to Shingo on my Broadened Horizon podcast. We were talking about it. I think it was a question that we got, community question, but they asked about the atomweight division. He brought up the interesting point, like from the business standpoint and promotional side of things, like why he doesn't think it would happen would be because of how many non-English speakers are the best of the best, and assuming they wanted to make an actual division where they could argue is the best atomweight division in the world, they would need to find ways to take the talent from over there, and promotion wise for their America based English company, it's gonna be difficult when most likely their champion won't be an English speaker unless one of those strawweights can drop down and start with it. Who maybe because of that they would even want to start like Torres versus Luke Boonmay for the atomweight title, which that would be an amazing matchup actually.
yeah,
So. And so I know that I just thought of that right there. That's a great one. So yeah, I think that's probably a really big part of it, and coming from his side of things and how he's thinking about it, I'm gonna take his word for it. Just aside from that, I don't think it'll even happen. But with his comments in regards to that, surely that's how they're thinking as well. So
yeah. Now, I actually asked them one time on John McCarthy and Josh Thompson's thing, and they said they would never do it because it wouldn't sell as like a title fight would never sell as a main event. But for me, I always thought, well, that's silly because they haven't put Valentina Shevchenko in a main event for any events other than like when she faced
the fight night
and then the Carmouche fight night. Yeah, and then I don't think they're going to put her in a main event after that one anytime soon. Not after that. We actually got a question. Leon EU says, do you think we'll see Tatiana Suarez in action in 2021? So I'll answer that one first. Yeah, she said on Twitter, I think, that she's planning to come back for this year. So don't know what's going on with her neck. I don't know if you know anything, Drake. You talk to more fighters than I do, so I don't talk to any. So
yeah, I don't have any inside scoop on that. On her current status with the injury, which, man, it's been a bummer that she's been out for so long. But I think she's probably doing it right because you don't want to mess around with the neck stuff. So good idea, I think, on her part. But yeah, I really hope we get to see her back in 2021. I would think, if she's doing things right and taking this time like she is, that she should be able to. Again, don't know the severity or specifics exactly. Nobody really does from what I've seen. Shout out to James Lynch. I know he's always, in pretty good contact with her and been trying to get updates from her recently, actually, but just can't. She's keeping things very close to the chest. But of course, it's also holiday season right now, so maybe he can get something soon, and hear a little update. But I think so, because I mean, when was that? This Raw fight, was that in like September of 19? Maybe it's been a long time.
In May of 19. Let me look it up.
That long? Jeez.
Yeah.
Either way, she's had a lot of time now. So, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't end up being a thing where like we find out that she's like retiring this year, because who knows? Maybe it could be that bad, which would totally suck. But we'll see, man.
So it was UFC 238, Cejudo versus Moraes, June 8th of last year.
Okay, wow.
So it's been well over a year and a half now. So I know she said in a couple interviews that she was trying to like rehab it without the surgery, hoping to avoid the surgery, which I understand. It's like neck surgery is serious. I mean, one false move and you could like stuck with a fused neck or crippled or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to like just rush into surgery. But after a while, I was also thinking, well, all this time that you tried to avoid surgery, you probably could have had it and rehabbed it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe she was able to avoid the surgery, which would be nice, because I hope I never have to have neck surgery.
Yeah, seriously.
I threw like a little piece of paper this morning, hurt my neck, and I was like, oh, what the hell?
I just turn too quick when I'm waking up. It's stuck.
Oh.
Getting old.
Dude, you're still in your 20s, aren't you?
I know. I just turned 25.
Man, you're still at that stage where you could go out and get drunk, sleep like 6 hours, and wake up ready to go for like another 24 straight.
I mean, sometimes.
Man, I remember I lived in Vegas for a year and a half, and from like 2010 to 11. I went one weekend. I was out all night. I don't know what time I came home. Woke up the next evening. My roommate was like, dude, do you know what time you came home? I was like, no. He was like, 10:30. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I'm getting ready to go out again. I get home at that time until 1:30 the next afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah. That was
good times.
Man, you're like invincible in your 20s. Then you hit 30 and it's like one drink and you're like, ooh, miserable.
It's game over.
Yeah. My hangovers last longer than the drunks do. So. Thank God I've been sober since March, so I'm fine.
There you go.
Now if I wake up tired, it's because I'm tired.
Yeah.
I got a few more viewers. If you got any questions you want to ask, anything WMMA related, feel free to ask. So, what else? So you don't think any atom weight in UFC in 2021 or at all?
I mean,
breaking my heart, man.
I know. But that's the thing too, is like, I would love for the atomweight division to be on the biggest stage, that it possibly can be. But at the same time, I don't want a watered down, cheap version of it, which if they cannot collect the best of the best, and unfortunately would have to be taken from Ryzen and all these other places, which then diminishes their product, like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it if it's not going to be the best it possibly can be, which it won't be. It just will not be right now.
Yeah.
So
like, imagine they got everybody but like Ayaka Hamasaki and Sahi Ham, and they're like, these are the best atom weights in the world. And it's
won't buy it. Wouldn't buy it.
Like, I mean, I'm sure most viewers will buy it, but it's like the hardcores are going to be like, come on now, we know better.
Yeah, exactly.
Zah says, Ryzen is
hey.
All hail Ryzen. That's a shirt dog right
there. Good to see you again, sir.
Yeah. And Esparza's Carla Esparza's biggest fan.
I'll have to debate my co-host on that one. He's a pretty big Carla fan.
Well, Zah is also the second biggest Irene Aldana fan after me, so
of course.
He'll probably want to fight me. That one.
How could you not be an Aldana fan?
That last fight, man.
Oh boy, yeah.
You saved yourself with the picture in the cast, though.
Yeah. Someone had to be, he says. Oh, that's a good point you bring up there, Leon. That's something that
So,
I always make sure that I ask Scott Coker about when I get to interview him because ever since they started having atom weight fights here and there, and then of course working with Ryzen, it's
mhm.
like, hey, I mean, you guys could share a little bit and start something up without having like an exclusive division. I do think that it is more likely we see Bellator start one before the UFC. I don't know how how much more likely it would be, but I think it is definitely more likely considering they already have that relationship, the access to the best fighters. I mean, they don't even really seem interested in adding, other. I guess I mean it would be strawweight or bantamweight. They don't seem too interested in either of those in bantamweight. I mean,
Yeah.
limited as is, that's not happening. Um,
Well, I know like they don't want to pull resources from either flyweight or featherweight by adding
right.
bantamweight, and I don't think they want to lose any possible flyweights to strawweight. So, but if they added
Yeah.
atom weight, it would keep that buffer.
Mm.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah, very true. And I don't think that that's a good point now that you bring that up because, yeah, their flyweight and featherweight division, they got it going on, at least for, featherweight. They have all the featherweights essentially, pretty much as many as they possibly can have without, a few exceptions, of course. And then flyweight, their flyweight division is looking fucking awesome right now. So I love it.
I did that video about who could face uh,
Velasquez or,
Velasquez
yeah.
next, right? And I came up with like 4 different people pretty easily.
Yeah, and you left
And
one out.
like, yeah, okay. I love that Vanessa Porta, but she hasn't fought for them yet. And I don't think, well, I mean, okay, maybe they could give her a title shot right away. But I think they're going to make her fight someone and get a win first, and then possibly.
Just to
Which they need to
expose her to the Bellator audience.
right. Which they need to hurry up and do because she hasn't fought in over a year either. So
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long, but sounds like she might be making progress, hopefully getting something here soon. It's just a question of who would you put her against then, like kill off another contender? I mean that would feel you don't want to give her like a total softball, right?
right.
I mean Laura maybe?
Laura would be good.
Or if you just do the tournament to start things
Yeah,
off.
I don't like Bellator's tournaments. They drag them out too long.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and I don't know. Maybe that was because of the zone deal that they had to like,
Mm.
because the zone tournament, the featherweight tournament was the zone exclusive. So maybe they were dragging it out to have them for their zone exclusive events. But it was like they were dragging out the quarterfinals. It's like, well, here's 2 fights in the quarterfinals, and then we'll have another quarterfinal fight in 2 months, and then the last one 3 months after that. It's like, so you're taking a year to do just the quarterfinals. I'm already gone. I'm already gone. Like,
Yeah.
because I remember a few years ago, Ryzen Road did their $1 million lightweight tournament, and they dragged it out, which they took too long to really set up the brackets that a lot of people had lost interest. And then not entirely their fault, but they ended up dragging out the tournament too long anyway. So that by the time the final championship match got made, it was like, oh, they're still doing that? Everyone was like,
Oh, this is a part of the tournament?
which there was financial reasons behind it. They lost their they lost their title sponsor, which was a political thing, like had nothing to do with MMA itself. It was political, but yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the Bellator tournaments. They just drag them out. And I think they have enough contenders right now where they could just line up Velasquez, who I think would probably be more active than McFarlane would. So, I mean, she hasn't been, but I think she'd be willing to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whereas McFarlane says, well, as soon as I have a fight, I'm not stepping foot in the gym for 2 months. So it's like, oh, okay.
Hey, that's
So
the
we'll see you in like
champ privilege, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna get fat for 2 months, so I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you want to take a break, fine, but 2 months before you step in the gym, it's like, good lord.
But things are exciting though in that division, so
I think Gil Holtz will get the next title shot there.
I think it should be her or Porto. That's what I would go with. Um, yeah, I think that I mean, you can argue between Porto, Keyholtz, and Carmouche. I think they all have solid. And of course, some people. I mean, I haven't really seen this at all, but the instant rematch. With McFarlane
I
that
think
route,
even
which
Coker basically shot that down. So,
yeah, so which is and then even Alima didn't seem very interested in it herself. So
oh, the rematch doesn't even seem that interesting as a fan. So, just wasn't the excitement that I think a lot of people were hoping for.
yeah.
It's more likely for flyweight tourney, but would you rather see a flyweight or a featherweight in Bellator? If I had to choose, probably a flyweight tournament. I think there's more interesting matchups to be made, and I think, well, I don't know. I think if they excluded Cyborg from the tournament
Right.
and used the tournament to decide a number one contender as they give her a fight in the meantime, then I think a featherweight tournament could be interesting. And it would definitely build up whoever would win, which whoever came out on top, which it could be Arlene Blenko, could get her fourth chance at a title if she did that. Sinead Kavanaugh, I could see winning by knocking fools out. Leah McCourt or Janae Harding, if two of those could win, man, then you'd have like the most marketable women's title challenger in Bellator's history, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I always forget about Leah McCourt too, that she's in that mix. But I don't know. I think they've taken kind of a weird approach with her, like very, very slow with getting her the matchups and everything. But
yeah, they're giving her the slow build.
mm-hmm.
But now she's got that big Everlast deal, so I think Everlast will be pushing her, and it's definitely. I think Bellator wants to keep her like more for their Euro cards anyway. Like they're squeezing that every drop of blood they can get out of that UK stone. So,
and I like your point though about the featherweight division. So I agree with that. And yeah, what do you say? More likely for flyweight? It is more likely. Which would I rather see? Yeah, I would totally much rather see flyweight. I think even with taking Cyborg out of the featherweight one, the flyweights I just think are much more talented and much more competitive with one another right now. Like if you look at who's in the division, who they have and everything, I think that in my own personal top 10, they have like Bellator has half of the top 10 now at this point, and then the UFC has the other five or however many you'd want to put in there. And then of course they have the great prospects like Kana Watanabe, and Lara is still a good prospect and looking great recently, and there's other people that I'm going to be leaving out, but yeah, the flyweight division in Bellator right now is awesome. So I don't. There's so many matchups I don't think you can go wrong with. And even I didn't think Deanna Bennett. I thought she looked pretty good even in defeat against Liz Carmouche. I was very kind of surprised by that, despite the loss. So people are looking good at 125. So that's an easy choice for me.
Yeah. Actually, if you go to MMA Rising's Unified Women's Rankings, which they haven't updated yet since the 1st of the month, but right now Bellator has 3 on their list: McFarlane, Carmouche, and Porto. So take out, say, McFarlane, replace her with Velasquez, they still have 3 out of their top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's probably my favorite ranking system because they go all over.
Yeah.
And they're most likely to include fighters from outside of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think their featherweight or flyweight their flyweight division is coming along really nicely. Featherweight still has some building to go, but I think
at least it's a division. At least it's something.
Some prospects. Exactly, Leah hasn't really fought tough competition. Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I'd have to look up who she fought again real quick, but she's only had I think 4 fights, 4 fights, maybe 5.
Something.
4
I
and
think
1.
she's like 4-1, yeah.
Which
I mean, they could put her against like an Amanda Bell or Librock next. Why not?
Yeah. Let's see. She has a win over. Well, okay. Manon Fiorot, I think she's down at flyweight now. But
Yeah, she just signed to fight Leonardo in the UFC.
is that her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Who's your? Yeah, that's not. Carrie Hughes was all right. Judith Ruiz was actually a decent win, 6-4, so like way more experience.
Mm-hmm.
She was scheduled to face Janae Harding. I hope that fight gets made.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Harding has. Yeah, that was scheduled for back in May, but got canceled because of the coup. But I'd like to see that fight get made. Which Harding, I think, actually called for that fight to get rescheduled. So
yeah,
it'd be another poor opponent if McCourt faced her. It'd be like super marketable too. Just as far as aesthetics go.
Australia versus UK too.
Australia versus UK. Two young, good-looking fighters, both strikers. Lot to like there, so I think that'd be a good one. They might not want to, knock either one of them off right now, though. But
yeah, we'll see.
Let's see. Look at the Bellator's divisions. I wish Bellator set up their website better. They only have I think 12, 13, 14 fighters listed on their website right now. So
oh, really?
There's not a whole lot for either of them to face next. Harding or McCourt's not going to fight Kavanaugh because they're teammates. Harding just beat Mealy. I guess one of them could take on Olga Rubin.
Yeah, maybe Toledo.
Yeah, Toledo Noguera. Mark Nakino was supposed to fight, but that fight got canceled. Leslie Smith is there. Leslie Smith is she's going to beat, I think, a lot of these younger prospects, and then fold against the tougher competition. It's man. Just that would be an interesting one. Which one there, Leon?
I'm assuming Leah and Janae is what he's talking about. Do you think that we're gonna get Cyborg and Cat next?
I think that'd be like watching a snuff film. They'd have to film it on 8mm.
Well, I saw something.
Nicolas Cage could be there oh.
I saw something today or yesterday about Cyborg responding. So I have a feeling that they might do that next, but we'll see. Yeah, Protection Society.
The ASPCA. I don't think that would end well for Kat Zingano at this phase in her career.
I don't know if it ever would have. as much as you can love Kat, but
no. I'll give Kat Zingano credit. Her fan base is truly dedicated. She has fans that'll come home and be like, they should sign Kat next or get her to face so and so next. It's you realize she hasn't won a fight in how long?
Oh yeah, I mean she got voted by that fan poll over Blanco and all those. What was it? Bud was also in there, but
yeah.
that was something.
But yeah, she just Amanda Nunes ruined her. Period. She won that fight, but really Nunes came out the winner in a long run.
Yeah, no kidding.
She literally talked about being suffering brain damage and not being able to leave her house for a month afterwards because of the light bothering her and stuff. It's man.
Yeah, that was a wild one.
Some people still say that Nunes should try to get that win back. It's
It doesn't matter anymore.
I understand, like some people say, "Oh, a fighter should try to get their losses back." It's like eventually you move to a point where you're beyond that loss, and that loss or getting that win isn't going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
Like you could say, "Oh yeah, I got that one back." It's like, yeah, okay, but you didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like Aldo fighting the first guy he lost to, back in
Oh yeah,
what his like
or,
eighth fight.
or it's like, yeah, no one calls for. Let me look her up. No one calls for Cyborg to go and fight Erica Pace,
Right?
wherever she is. 3-2 record. Oh, she hasn't fought since. Oh, she had a fight in 2015. Okay, but yeah, no one's calling for Cyborg to go back and get that win from Pace.
Well, we're starting now. Cyborg,
Yeah.
you're ducking Pace.
You're ducking the Pace, Cyborg. You're ducking that one match. I think the layoffs Kat took, that's what made her on a downfall. I think the layoffs definitely don't help, but even like before the losing streak, she wasn't the most active.
No. If you look at her career, I think 2019 and I want to say 10. Those are like the only 2 years of her career where she's fought more than once. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. You don't realize that, but yeah,
Yeah,
she
you
doesn't often fight twice in
No.
a year.
We let the dog out. Yeah. She likes to bark. She never shuts up.
She didn't agree with our ideas, I guess.
Must be a cat. Oh, it's probably because we said cat.
He's a Cat Zingano fan.
No, just because we said the word.
Oh.
That's her nuts. It'll drive her up. She'll jump up on the windowsill and start looking for cats. But yeah, I mean, they might give Cyborg or Cat to Cyborg. I'd be like, man, I'd be like opening up I don't know. It's like throwing chum into a bucket or a bucket of chum into like a shark tank. Who else is there? Who else can?
Yeah, I think Cat's probably the best option at the moment, unfortunately.
Maybe Kavanaugh. Let's see what
Oh
she's.
yeah.
She is coming off 2 straight wins. Most recently fought in October, so she only fought once this year. But yeah, she came off a win and had that win over Ruben before that
Mm-hmm.
in November of 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's their only best option is either Cat or Sinead.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing too, is like a featherweight tournament might actually make more sense in terms of determining a contender, right? But
Right.
what would be more fun is like the flyweight one. If you had to do one, I mean, yeah.
No, they're not going to give it to Smith. I mean, she has that win over Amanda Bell, but yeah, that's the options right now they have. It would be either Sinead or Cat, and they're definitely going to go more likely with Cat, unless they put the fight in Europe and then they give it to Sinead. But why would they have it in Europe? Is the dog's name Rhonda? No, it is not Rhonda.
Alexa.
No, that dog's undefeated. So
The dog's undefeated. Nice.
So yeah, if they gave Cyborg a fight during the tournament and they did a featherweight tournament, then they could definitely build up an actual contender for Cyborg. The biggest fear would be it end up being like Julia Budd again or Lenko, and it's like we kind of just saw this. And even if it's like a year later, it's like we just saw this.
Yeah.
But I feel like Cyborg is like barking at Jessica McCaskill right now, or McCaskill is barking at her for boxing. We got a question for you.
I see that.
I know this one's all you.
Oh boy.
What does 2021 hold for Randa Marcos?
In bold exclamation. Oh, it's sad. I think probably if she sticks to how she's always sounded, well, first of all, I believe unfortunately she is gonna be cut if she hasn't already, and then what she's always said is if she can't make it in the UFC, she'll retire. So she could be done in 2021. That's what I think. I mean, where else would she go? I guess at this point,
Yeah,
strawweight. Everybody's in the UFC practically. So,
yeah. I mean, at her age, I know she's what, in her mid-30s now,
hmm
and at the rate they're probably paying her, which isn't probably that great, but is probably better. I mean, she's not exactly on like the 12-12 contract.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I think she signed a new one before the Dern fight, which was
ooh,
interesting. Yeah,
definitely needs.
I don't know. I mean, maybe she's got the longevity and everything, but you just look at how, what these losses have been. Not great. She hasn't
Yeah,
looked good at all. Uh,
but I figured Hebus was going to win because Marcos was coming off a win anyway.
right,
So
right.
it's cosmic. It is cosmic at that point. But I was like, man, she's going to beat Dern. There's no way Dern is going to beat the longest win-loss streak other than,
Ever.
well, okay, the Rodriguez draw.
Right, right,
And she
right.
went right back to it. I said, there's no way Mackenzie Dern is going to do it. And then Marcos was like, oh, she fell down. Let me follow her. I was like, what are you
Uh,
doing, Randa?
that
No.
was one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen in my entire life. Not just MMA, but ever. That was-
And it was the way
uh,
Mackenzie like kicked so hard, she threw herself off her own feet.
yeah.
And Randa just like was like, I'm gonna follow her to the ground. It's like, you're a better striker than she is.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, she is talked about it since then and like how she knew shouldn't have done it, still did it. Like just a weird mental lapse. But people got to realize, unless you're Verna Jandiroba, do not even bother going to the ground with Dern. Just accept that you're not good enough. Which
If
I know
you're
that's a
there
hard thing to
now,
do, but
walk away. Just
yeah.
back straight up and be like, get up. And
Yeah.
Anna Cyphers made that mistake. It's like, why are you standing right above her?
She
It's like, no,
stayed in between her legs for a second too long. She would have tried to get out immediately. Probably would have been fine, but just played around for a split second too long. Because Hannah, she was doing quite fine until things hit the ground, which
Anna Cyphers always looks good until the moment she loses.
yeah, that's a great way to put it, actually. Then the last fight is a perfect depiction of that.
That she is talk about someone that needs a UFC atomweight division.
Yes,
Cyphers would be like,
yes.
get down there right now.
And speaking of ciphers, though, I mean, and people who I'm surprised haven't been cut yet. And I've nothing against Hannah. I actually think she deserves a little bit more credit for her skills than people give her, but I get why they don't. And I do believe that she's definitely much better fit at atomweight, and it would be great to see her in any atomweight division. I cannot believe that they are keeping her around for one more fight. This has to be the last one here.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the fact that I mean, she was on a lose, like she had just lost and they signed her to like a bigger contract. They paid her more. And then she took like another one or two losses. And it's like, oh, no. She did take fights on short notice.
I think that's
They
the
didn't reward
big
fighters
saver.
for that. So
Yeah.
they're like, you're a company. So
Yeah.
who would you rather see Zahn face, Rose or Carla or any other contender? So go ahead, Drake. I'll let you take this one first.
Well, you can't go wrong at strawweight, right? I would love to see Whaley against pretty much anybody in the top 10 that she hasn't fought already. And even people she has fought. You don't want to see the Joanna rematch, you're lying, right? That would be great to see, even though not sure. I mean, we've seen Joanna get so many title shots and all that, so we can pass on it for now. But fight-wise, yeah, that would be awesome. Not my pick here. Who would I rather see? Whaley versus any contender. I mean, personally, I'd like to think I'm one of the biggest Yan Xiaonan fans out there. So that's my pick. I would love to see that collision of China's superpowers there, but it's got to be in China. You can't have it anywhere else. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. I think stylistically, it's awesome.
I think they'd be
Uh,
able to do it in China. They would just have to like set up a bubble hotel, and
well,
I think
they could probably do it in the Shanghai PI now. I'd imagine.
yeah,
Why not? Um, so yeah, I would love to see that one. Because I think that also Jan has earned it now at this point, 6 wins in a row, very impressive. And then as for who's earned it and deserves, I think I believe Carla and Jan are the two most deserving contenders right now. Rose, she's only 1 win and hasn't got that win was a while ago. Just hasn't been very active.
right.
As a fight, Whaley versus Rose, very exciting. Of course, you can't it would be fun. But if we're going off merit here, I would think you'd have to go with Carla or Xiaonan. And I'm pretty coin flip with either of those 50-50. I understand Carla's 4-fight winning streak. Her wins haven't been as dominant or as impressive, clear cut as Xiaonan's, but name value you could maybe argue is pretty close. The cases are there for either. 6-fight winning streak versus 4. That you can take your nitpicks out of it, but I would say that's who I would want to see Whaley against next. But anybody, and it'll be a great fight.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think stylistically, Rose is the most interesting matchup stylistically, but for me, her inactivity just kills it. It's like kills any interest because it's like she wins the belt and then she's going to be an active champ, and then we're going to have to deal with like, oh, I don't know if I want to fight anymore. It's like just stop, then stop. I won't get into that. I've talked about that in my other videos. Yan Xiaonan, I think, is interesting stylistically, and I think they want that sweet Chinese yuan, so that's be the big fight to make, and I think that would just be it. I think those two would just move forward constantly on each other and just would not stop. And then Carla, I want to see Zhan's ground game tested for real. Like she's never been in there against a truly decent wrestler. I mean, she fought Aguilar, but Aguilar was on the downhill already. So,
no, yeah, that's what makes that fight the most interesting is seeing how she would deal with it.
I think Carla's going. If Carla doesn't get them absolutely demolished on the feet, she's going to shoot. And how does Zhan react to the takedown? What does she do if Carla gets the takedown? That's to me the most interesting thing.
Yep.
And that's why I want to see that. Plus, I'm a big Carla fan. You got to respect the singlet. So, yeah, I'd rather see either of those two over Rose. But, I mean, stylistically, Rose is the fight to make. And Rose definitely has the biggest fan base, unfortunately. So, they're the ones clamoring for that. Let's see. Randa did make mistakes, but also had tough opponents. Who would you want to see her fight next? I don't know who I'd want to see her fight next. That's tough. That is tough. But yeah,
you didn't specify with UFC or not. So I mean, the only other option I guess would be like, if we want to get super crazy, one, but I don't think that'll happen, or Invicta. But I'll just assume another UFC fight, since that's what you believe, Zoo, that she should get one more fight. Who would I want to see her fight? Oh boy, I mean, there's so many options. I don't know. Maybe the first person that came to mind right there was Brianna Van Buren, but I don't know if she'd win that one either. So it's like, do I want to give her a winnable fight or a pretty fun one?
So she might be able to beat a pregnant Van Buren.
not the current Van Buren.
I don't think that's a legal type of abortion. So
I don't know, man.
Ooh, what about Herrick?
Oh yeah, we could do that rematch. Okay, that's the one. I'll take that. Yeah. The Herrick rematch.
Herrick's still ranked too. It's like, what the heck?
No, she cannot be anymore.
Yeah,
no way.
The most updated version's always on the app. So let me check real quick.
That would be just ridiculous.
I think she's like 14 or 15. Maybe they took her off.
They had to have. After the layoff and then the loss to Jandaroba, there's no way.
Number 14.
Wow, that is just embarrassing. I mean,
Olivia
we know
number 15, and Jandaroba's 13. So
that's insane.
Yeah,
That is absolutely insane.
Short notice, ready and willing thing.
Mm.
Yeah, they'll keep company fighters around that. Like,
Yeah, that is right. The Kanako fight was short notice, so
yeah.
yeah, maybe Souza versus Randa. That was supposed to happen at one point, I think. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right. I think a while ago, and Souza got injured or something like that, or it was in like preliminary talks maybe. But that one was already had some lining to it, so maybe that could be one. Um, so yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we all know. We all know he wants to see that fight. So, um,
Oh,
if you're watching and you're not on the Sherdog forums, Za is like one of the most prolific women's discussion posters there, and is Esparza's biggest fan. And like, actually, he follows like a lot of women's like actual wrestling too. So I think it's Za that knows all the Japanese Olympic wrestlers too. So yeah, did beat that good competition. Oh, come on, she beat Gedalia.
how dare you?
How dare you?
Well, see, that's the part of the argument I'm saying. She's got the streak, but
yeah, she got the streak. She did beat Gedalia, who Esparza lost to.
Mm-hmm.
So, lots of potential fun fights for Jan, Rodriguez, Rose, Carla, Torres. Yeah, those would all be fun. They have Jan ranked higher than Carla right now, which I have a hard time agreeing with.
Oh, really? She's at like what, 3, I believe?
She's at 3, and Carla's at 4. And the thing is, like, she was ranked below Carla, or no, she beat Gedalia, who was ranked below Carla. So, but
the streak, man, power of the streak.
Momentum. I'm always lining up enormous bets against Souza, and she's always pulling out. She just wants to deny you. He says he can't win money if I don't fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes.
Could you imagine?
The mountains of salt.
Man. That would
I
be
would
something.
take them back in time and sell salt.
That'd be a hell of a story, though, going, just that full circle.
Yeah, I thought that would be like the greatest storyline. The first women's strawweight champion loses it in her first title defense, comes back 5-6 years later to win it again. And like the greatest comeback story in the history of the women's divisions.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be.
Got a question for you, Drake.
So how am I lining up all these interviews with the Jap? How am I doing it specifically? I have my ways, man. I got connections. Just reach out to them, or it is what it is. I'm not gonna give away my secrets here or anything. Or do you mean? No, I'm reading this wrong. I thought he meant how am I lining them up at the moment? Nothing at the moment. I don't like to bother people on the holidays, but yeah, I have my ways. Let's leave it at that. Thanks for checking it out, though.
He has his ways.
Yeah.
Okay, a month ago, had you said that about Carolina, I'd have fought you. I'd have flown to England and fought you, but she got married recently, so yeah, she's washed up in every way now. So. Yeah, Carla did beat. Well, who else did she beat in the top 10? Rodriguez. So,
Rodriguez, Watterson. There was the Grasso fight, who wasn't top 10 at the time, but top 15.
Yeah, 11 or 12 or something.
And who was the other one that she beat? Who's the fourth person that I'm leaving out here? Yes, exactly.
Jandiroba.
Oh, right.
Jandiroba wasn't ranked yet, but
worldwide she was, if we're being real.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because actually I've gotten multiple comments from people. Like, Kanako loves my mustache. And I actually left that in the video, which you can go check out our last interview we did. Kind of funny. So, yeah, he's not wrong.
It's the hipster hair, man.
Yeah, right. Ooh, big question here.
I think it'd be boring. I'm not gonna lie. I just can't see that fight being exciting. The second one was so boring,
Well,
and
that's the funny
they're
thing, right?
so cautious. I can't see either of them coming out there and really like. Valentina is not going to come out there looking to like just really put a stamp on it. No way. Maybe like in the final round, but still, then I think she's going to be so focused on just winning getting the W and not losing that I don't see her. And she's also going to be outsized. So I don't see her coming forward. I think she's going to be content to counter. And I think Nunes is going to be cautious as well, just because, the first two fights were so close. And Nunes is going to be worried about gassing. So she's not going to open up until like the fourth or fifth round. She'll probably just come forward and throw oblique kicks again and, keep Valentina at the end of her range. And I think it'd just be like a pitter-patter point counterpoint fight.
I like that you mentioned that though about, it potentially being boring, because we've seen plenty of people, recently over the last couple of years since they've been champions and all that, about how, oh, that trilogy would be awesome, and it's getting brought up to like Dana at press conferences now and everything. But people forget it's not like the rematch was the most amazing fight ever. Like I enjoyed it, very technical. If you like, appreciate the finer details and everything, the chess match type of fights. Then yeah, that was a good one, but definitely not the most exciting fight or best fight ever by any stretch of the imagination. So for people wanting to see it again, it's like, do you forget that it wasn't that awesome? And it probably wouldn't be. Just that's how they match up together, and for good reason. So how do I think the fight would go? Yeah, I can't see it looking too much differently. I think that Amanda would probably be a bit more aggressive quicker than last time, just because she's been in there with her twice now and has figured her out for the most part. I mean, has 2 wins over her, right? So I just think that clearly they have both improved plenty since that rematch, but I just think that Amanda has improved more to where I can't see her losing to Valentina. I think she just her performance has been a bit more impressive to me, and her ferociousness, I suppose you could say. But I don't think Valentina would beat Amanda at any point, as we've seen. So it'd be interesting, but I don't know if it's necessary, right?
Biggest thing is we've seen Amanda tested more in her fights since then. Like we saw her tested against GDR, because GDR was beating her on her feet, and she took GDR.
No surprise, though. No surprise.
Yeah. But I think they'd have to throw a ton of money at Amanda to get that fight, and I don't see the UFC doing it. Because you got to think, Amanda, at the end of the day, people can cry and pile up salt all they want that Valentina won the second fight, but she lost. It's on the record. Amanda has 2 wins over her, so you'd have to give Amanda enough incentive to go, yeah, okay, I'll take the fight. Why not? And it'd have to be enough incentive for her to risk losing to Valentina as well. Whereas Valentina goes in, she has nothing to lose. She'd be moving back up in weight.
Unless they did it at flyweight.
Yeah. Okay. We could see a one-legged Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say that.
So, yeah, you'd have to basically go, Amanda, here's like $10 million, chop off a leg.
Yeah.
And she'd be like,
Do you remember when she teased that, though? When she tweeted that out? Do you remember that?
Seriously. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I also thought she was being serious when she said she'd make Cyborg wait 2 years. It's like, no.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's good at trolling.
No, it's not that she's that good. I think it's just MMA fans in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Are so easily trolled. It's like, oh, I can't stand Jake Paul, so I'm going to talk about him nonstop for the next month. It's like,
very true.
And they say pro wrestling fans are marks. No. Pro wrestling fans know what they're getting into. They're taking part in it. MMA fans are the actual marks because they don't know that they're buying into it. It's like, so we talked about this one earlier. I think after the Megan fight, they should. Dana has been talking about building it up, but other than signing Danielle Wolf, who has one pro fight now, it's like they haven't been building it. So my opinion, and I think Drake agrees, or Drake brought it up first, just close it, send them to Bellator, and let Bellator have that W, which is like nowhere.
I think that's the reason they're not.
Yeah, Dana White's like, no, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, I pretty much said this earlier too, but if Amanda wins, it'll be closed. Megan wins, of course they do the rematch, milk the story there, which that would be huge. And then depending on the outcome of that, you would have to imagine they could do a trilogy if Amanda got the win back. So I mean, they could really drag it out if Megan wins, but you can still see the end of this, right? Because if she does beat Amanda, then what? You're still left in that position with nobody then to fight Megan. So it's like,
right. Well, they could always do the rematch with
okay, so one more after that with Felicia. That's it.
Yeah, Felicia.
Or if they wanted to milk that, assuming Megan won that, and then they do a trilogy there, like it's just going to be a bunch of the same for as long as they possibly can. But yeah, I think we can see the end though. That's for sure. No matter which way.
Looking at the odds for Nunes versus Anderson, 5 Dimes has Nunes at minus 1100, Anderson at plus 700. The highest is Sport Bet has Anderson at plus 760. 12. The highest or the lowest that has Nunes is William H, which has Nunes at minus 1250. So surprisingly, the odds aren't even as big as like any Valentina Shevchenko fight, who gets like minus 2,000 to fight Jennifer Maia, and then Jennifer Maia is the first flyweight to actually win a round against her. So
that was just disrespectful to Maia, though. I'm not surprised how that fight went at all. If you knew who Jennifer Maia was, I don't think that should have been surprising how that fight played out.
No.
So,
did you see Bellator signed Darina Madziak? Yes. And
Mazdiak. The Z is before the D, everybody. I've seen this.
I misspelled it, I think, too, on a couple posts, but it's Mazdiak. Where did I see? I think it was on Sherdog. Someone said, well, obviously that's one way to get attention, and it worked when she fought that 500-some pound dude. So I still think that was a work or a shoot fight or something.
Oh, yeah, not even a question.
And the fact that I was winning, because he was just winning by literally smashing her, like pressing her against the cage. And then the ref broke it up and she started punching him. But hey, you know what? You got to get attention. You got to get attention. It's like the fighters that open OnlyFans. Go get your money, girl. Or guy. Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, Diego.
Oh,
good for him.
I can't say gross. Go get your money, Diego.
Yeah, dude, do your thing. I wonder how he's doing, though. How it's working out for him.
You know there's more guys signed up than girls.
Yeah. So
I bet Felice Herrig is killing it right now.
She's doing the foot thing, right?
Yeah. Doing foot only, which
genius.
And a lot of people are like, what's the point? She's been like giving pictures of her feet away. I'm like, listen, I don't think you understand. Beat people like new stuff. It's like, okay, Pornhub is still in business in spite of everything that you could possibly see already being on the internet. But guess what? There's more adult content uploaded every day because you want more and more. And foot people are the same way. I think eventually she's going to be like stomping on mashed potatoes or something. But
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Grace Lady 2.0.
Yeah, hey, if I could make pictures of my feet, I wouldn't be working,
yeah, seriously,
7 days a week in December, I'd be selling pictures of my toes. Be like, look at them feet.
Speaking of, does anybody in the chat, would they like pictures of my feet? While we're here.
$1 per toe.
Oh, I have an answer for you in this one, Leon.
So go ahead.
I think that the absolute perfect fight for Joanna's return would also be Tatiana's return. Make that a fight night main event. Fantastic test for Tatiana against a striker of Joanna's caliber, especially after seeing that she had trouble with Ansarov in the third round of their fight, even though I guess you could maybe attribute that to the injury acting up at the time, but still, we saw it happen. Either way, I think that's stylistically a fantastic test. Joanna, someone notoriously, amazing takedown defense, right? So,
Yeah, and getting back up.
yeah, and her spring ability, yeah, her ability to get up.
I think
And
that was
then,
one of the big fights people were calling for even before the Ansarov fight was like, you got to get the ultimate wrestler against the ultimate takedown defense. So,
yeah, I think that one is perfect, like kind of questions to get answered for both of them. And if you make it a main event for Tatiana's return against Joanna, perfect person to get her back into people's minds because the MMA fans have a very short term memory. It's like goldfish out here. So, to bring her back and remind people who she is, that's the way to go, I think. And stylistically, it's fantastic. So,
see
but
Tatiana.
then there's that argument too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you give her a warm up and then give her Joanna. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, who wouldn't be a warm up for Tatiana? Someone.
Give her Tisha.
There you. I almost wore my Tiny Tornado shirt tonight. I'm gonna wear my new Sabaton shirt. Man, dare you? She's on the comeback.
I know she is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was looking bad there for the tornado for a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a fun one.
I'm upset that we're not going to get to see Tatiana and Andrade. I'm upset that we're missing that one.
Yeah. Rose and Tatiana. Okay, I think that would be like Rose versus like. Okay, that'd be like today's version of Rose versus Esparza, better than Esparza has ever been. So that'd be like the ultimate conclusion of if Esparza had kept continuing getting better along with Rose, and they were to rematch, that would be like. It still wouldn't even look as good as Tatiana versus Rose now. I think Tatiana would beat Rose. I mean, yeah. Rose does have the dancing ability. 5-round fight, definitely Suarez. 3-round, possibly Rose, but man, she'd have to be avoiding takedowns for like 4 minutes, 14 minutes, 30 seconds, basically.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah. I still like to watch Rose versus Andrade 1, just because. Yes, good.
Hell of a knockout.
That was brutal. All right, so we're coming up on almost an hour and a half. So, if you're fine with like 5 more minutes, I say maybe go another 5, get some last questions in.
Yeah, 5 is perfect.
I got some stuff to do before.
Yeah. So do I.
A lot of people could potentially beat Rose. It's fun to see people talk about it. I agree.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I mean, everyone's just talking about, Rose is. I feel like the formula to beat Rose is out there, but she just has, it's a matter of implementing it. Like, you have to really pressure her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't give her space to work. If you pressure her and get in close on her, I think she doesn't do well against pressure fighters. So,
yeah, I mean, if you want to look back, earlier than what we've seen recently, you could look at the Carolina loss, right? Got her in the clinch was a big problem for her there. And then even before that, the Torres rematch, which I think Torres should have got the win in that one, was able to keep things pretty close more often than not. And I think it was the 3rd round she had very strong and got Rose down to the ground and put some good ground and pound on her. That seems like it's kind of always been an issue for Rose, but she's just so goddamn fast, and her movement has just improved so much over time that it's made it harder, and people forget about that being a problem for her. But then we see in the loss, like, Andrade gets close and dumps her on her head, so it's still, we see it still being a possibility, but her activity being less kind of makes you forget a little bit, like I was saying with the short-term memory. So,
well, I think if you stop her from lateral movement and get her moving straight back, she right off the back foot. She has a problem with that. Why?
Come on, Andrade's good people.
I think she's low-key kind of cute, honestly.
She's got eyebrows on fleek.
Yeah. I mean, she's pretty like Justin Bieber's kind of pretty. So I'm not saying I like Justin Bieber, but I mean, yeah, she's cute. She's thick too. I mean, yeah, her arms are thicker than mine.
She's
So
like 5 feet tall.
yeah,
Yeah, Rose is she's got one of the I've always said it, she's got one of the best killer instincts probably among all the women. I mean, that's been one of her biggest
yeah,
attributes, I think. We saw that pretty much from the tough days. And even before that with the flying armbar in Invicta.
yeah.
She's always been
The thing with
just
Rose's submissions is that she pulls them off fast, and they're usually fast and early. Like if she doesn't get an early submission, you don't really see her go with it. Or if she isn't able to get it like right away, it's like she definitely has like the killer instinct, like you said.
yeah.
But it's like she's not like a slowly set up and work for a submission. It's she has to go for it, and if she can't get it, then she's not going to work for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Looks great. Gaethje's also improving. True.
But he also fought the greatest wrestler that the world's ever seen. Literally.
Or yeah, he just fought somebody who he could not stop Khabib's forward momentum. So
Yeah, that's one of those things where like I don't know if we can judge it too much on that one, which sucks because I would love to see somebody really try and take Gaethje down. Like if I want to see the Chandler fight so badly, but like that's a good guy to test his wrestling who might want to do it. But I love that matchup so much. That's like my favorite potential matchup. I think that would just be amazing. So
I almost said that's another example of a Whitman fighter though folding under pressure, but who doesn't fold under Khabib's pressure? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Give 5 minutes. So we did these earlier, but I don't have a problem doing them again. Go ahead, Drake. Give yours.
All right, so I don't have a pick for the opening fight between Sakura and what is it, Takeya Bayashi?
Takebayashi.
So
Takebayashi.
the high school girls, which I'm looking forward to. It should be interesting and everything. Haven't gotten a chance to do much research on it and everything because there's a lot with this card to digest. But for the big super atomweight fights, it feels like you kind of who you have to pick is Ayaka and Kana. I feel like those are the picks to take there. Not that the fights will be one side. I think they're both super intriguing for various reasons, but Kana and Ayaka, I think, very clearly have more ways to win in each of them. But their opponents have definitely shown they're on good rolls right now. I know that Miyu did have the loss to Sohee before her last win and everything, but she's turned things around tremendously since the start of her career. What is it? 5-1 in her last 6, I believe. Since starting off 1-3. Yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, Miyu, I think can definitely, if she does her thing and can employ the wrestling against Ayaka, can be problematic. But then she's in danger of submissions. So and Ayaka I think Ayaka's looking better than ever. She's improving despite all the years that she's been competing in 38, even though Miyu's 46 and everything, but MMA years and everything.
Yeah, she's like never plateaued as a fighter. Like she's always just made like what's the Japanese word, that kaizen, where they make like short, like small, gradual improvements over the years to reach that upper level.
Yeah,
that's Ayaka. Like she's never made like tangential improvements, like these big improvements. She's always made like the small ones that don't.
And now we're really seeing it. Yeah. For me, she's the greatest atomweight of all time and one of the most underrated fighters ever. And she just continues to show that right now. And the crazy thing is, man, I didn't know this until I caught up with her recently. Shameless plug for Broadened Horizon. That was episode 1 when I caught up with her. But she said that she's had 3 ACL tears throughout her career. And I don't know if many people know that, but I was like, wow, that's kind of insane that you've been able to hide that and look as good as you have, only losing.
I hope at least one of them was separate.
Yeah, I didn't ask for the specifics on which one, but yeah, that was like, wow, that's insane. So like because she was telling me how it like alters her, training and how she has to adjust things, how her knees just aren't as good anymore. It was like, you could fool me. You could totally fool me. She's something else. And then as for Kana, she's just definitely something special too. 23 years old, one of the best atom weights right now. And at this pace, man, I've been thinking about it. It's like if she keeps it up and how good she is right now, she could go down as the best atom weight with how she started out. If she just keeps fighting and getting better and better, that's a horrifying thought for her opponents. But
Yeah, I'd like to see her go on the road too.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll give my picks real quick. I like Sakura to win the Battle of the High School Girls, and if they don't make their entrances in their uniforms, I will be disappointed in Japanese New Year's Eve events forever. I will have lost faith. I mean, they used to have Kana do it, so why not have these two do it? You have to. It's for the great honor of their school or something. So I'm going with Sakura just because she's like 3-1, and Ero Takebayashi is a debutante. Although I do like what I saw of the 2 amateur fights I watched. I actually watched amateur fights for once to do some tape study on her. I'm going with Kana Asakura to win. I think what her and I both do best is the same thing. I just think Kana is better at it, and Kana has faced the better competition, and I think she has the better stand-up as well. And then I'm going with Hamasaki, but I'm not entirely counting out Miyu Yamamoto because, like she's done in the past, Hamasaki, I don't know if it's overconfidence or not, but she puts herself in like really bad situations and she like kind of gets stuck. Like she got saved by the bell against Amber Brown and freely admits it. She says she wasn't like really getting choked against Tom, but yeah, she was in a position where she could not escape. So
4 full minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, I mean, Yamamoto could beat her, but Hamasaki just has more ways to win. So, although Yamamoto, 46 years old, looking that good.
Hell of a story. If she pulls it off, dude, I think that's one of the best stories in MMA history, hands down.
Yeah, started MMA in her 40s, and within a few years, beats one of the best in the world. Tatiana wins a strawweight title and moves up to flyweight. How do you think her and Valentina would match up? I'd go with Valentina. I'd have to. I mean, it would
There's
be
so many unknowns in that question.
answer. I think that fight would be answered after the first takedown attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Which with Suarez would be 1 attempt, then a second, and then a third, and it would all look like 1 takedown attempt, but really it'd be like 3 or 4 in one. But I think if Valentina could beat the first takedown attempt, it'd be Valentina. I don't know about you.
No, I think that's pretty much the best way. We can assess that right now until we see what kind of Tatiana returns. And just considering how the Maya fight looked, I would imagine that she'd be able to hold her down, Tatiana. So, I think that's about right.
Kana loses, will I enslave the human race? AI. As long as they don't set up a communist government, fine. This is a good one.
Yeah. So I'll do men's and women's since you went specific here, and we are doing the WMMA Q&A here. Michael Chandler and Eddie Alvarez one, I think, is just that fight is just so crazy, and everything about it. Chandler virtually an unknown at that time. That was his star-making performance. Just madness from bell to bell as long as it lasted. Fight of the year, and it had a finish, so I mean that always adds a little bit of a bonus for me in those crazy 5-round championship fights or whatever, even though it didn't go to the 5th round. But amazing one. And then best female fight I've ever seen. I did do a list on this earlier this year, and I edged it. But it was between Joanna and Weili for me, and Penne versus Watterson. I went with Penne versus Watterson because that fight went more places than Joanna did, and Joanna Weili did, and it had a finish. There were, good striking exchanges from both of them on the feet. Mostly an amazing grappling fight, but it had more. And when I think of a great MMA fight, I think of one that goes in every area of MMA, displays everything.
Right.
Weili versus Joanna was straight up a striking match, but because it was just so good of one that it deserves to be right up there and possibly the best. I don't have any problem saying it's the best one, but for me, I got to take the one that had more diversity in what was happening, and then the finish. That fight was incredible. So for me, I'll say Chandler and Alvarez won, and then Penne and Watterson. So
I actually did a a review of that list, and
Yes, I
did
remember.
my
Appreciate
own.
it.
And if I remember correctly, I don't have my notes in front of me, but my number one was Angela Lee versus Seong Jingnan 1. That fight just had everything going in it. Yeah,
Yes.
interdivisional thing, which honestly, the girl moving down or the girl moving up was bigger than the girl whose division it was in. It went everywhere. It was on the feet. It was on the ground. The fourth round, Lee had Seong in an arm bar that you just think there's no way she's going to get out. But Seong was like, I'm good. Got up. You saw Lee just had this look on her face like, how?
Yeah.
What? And then like for the fifth round, Lee was so exhausted and Seong just blasted her with some body kicks. And for me, that fight just had everything. It had the storyline. It had the diversity of action.
Champ versus champ.
Champ versus champ. Pretty high level, especially for non-UFC. Very high, probably the highest level outside of UFC, just about. So that for me was like, yeah, I'd love to go back and watch that fight.
That one was my one going in until I did all the research for that list. That one I love that fight too, and it was so hard to decide that whole top five for me. That was
I mean, Watterson versus Penny was high on my list too, and so was I think Zahn versus Wei Li or Zahn versus Joanna was like number 2. So I just wanted to be a hipster and not do it number 1.
Yeah, right. Yeah, both Lee versus Jingnan fights, fantastic, amazing. Yeah. And then the what was it? I'm blanking on her name. What was the other? I'm totally blanking on her name. Vivi Yamaguchi. And Angela Lee won that fight.
Too. That might have been number 1. It was Angela Lee.
They're also good.
At least 2 spots in my top 5. I did like top 10, and she was in 2 of the top 5.
Yeah, so. Those 3 fights were in there for me too. Yeah. And then of course, shout out to Hamasaki and Sohei Hum 3, of course.
Oh yeah. Yu Yamamoto, 1991. So, 7, or I turned 7 that year in 91.
I was -4. I wasn't alive yet.
Here's what I want to know. How good looking was Yamamoto back then? She's that good looking now. Good Lord. Yeah, that's nuts. Is Grasso versus Barber a win-win for the UFC regardless of the victor? I'd say yes. I mean, if Barber wins, it's a great comeback from a knee surgery and, catastrophic injury. If Grasso wins, then they can, keep building Grasso up at flyweight, which they've been trying to build her up at strawweight, and she just was win-loss down there. And I know Dana White wanted her for like a while when she was with Invicta. And then she kept saying, well, I want to get the Invicta belt. And then she kept breaking her hand. She's like, okay, I'll go come to UFC. So, yeah, I think it's a win-win. As long as it's a good fight. If it's a fight, it's win-win. If it's like boring or just like
if one of them gets destroyed.
Yeah, or one of them just absolutely gets destroyed, then no. But, yeah, I think it's a win-win. What do you think, Drake?
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way to look at it. I feel like it's more of a win if Macy wins. I think that they can, do their promotional stuff around her better than Grasso. I want to say they've given up on hyping Grasso at this point, but they've definitely slowed down on it since the losses and her getting to the UFC and everything. So,
but her the way she beat Kim though, I mean, Kim has never taken a beating like that before in any fight. I've watched just about all of her fights, and nobody has beaten her. Like usually, fighters fight Kim, and they come out looking the way Kim looked against coming out of Grasso. Like she just beats. Like her style is not fancy; it's very predictable. But she puts hurting on girls, win or lose. She puts hurting on them, and she came out with a nasty black eye and all bruised up. Nobody beaten her like that. So. Would you like to see an Olympic sport for MMA and the amateurs? You take this one, Drake.
No. No, I don't want to see. Okay, if they were to do it, I guess with amateurs, that's the best way to do it. But then at the same time, the Olympics is supposed to be the best of the best. Amateur fighters are not going to be the best of the best. I've always been against MMA in the Olympics because they're going to make it so dumb, and the rules are going to be totally changed. The padding that they'd have to wear, like all these things would make it so not MMA that it's like, and it's not even necessary because we're all MMA is already a sport of different nations competing against each other. So it's like we don't need it.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that is needed.
So I do like what the IFMMA is doing with their tournaments every year. And I mean, if they could get it to the Olympics, they would get more funding. But like you said, for me, the Olympics ruins combat sports. They've ruined judo. You can't even touch the legs in judo anymore. Like you can't even grab someone's leg in judo anymore, which is dumb, which eliminates a lot of takedowns for them. Boxing, well, they got rid of the headgear, which is fine, but it's still amateur boxing, which is basically the ultimate point fighter style of boxing. Taekwondo, they watered it down just to get it into the Olympics. And now, like, I know there's like different types of Taekwondo, like WTF, ITF, and well, Taekwondo is a mess anyway. But yeah, it's like they took something that could be an effective martial art and made it a sport. And that's, for me, what I hate about Olympics. And Greco-Roman wrestling, they keep changing the rules to try to make it more interesting. And it just keeps getting more boring because the wrestlers find more ways to get around the rules. Like, that's one thing the Olympics teaches people is how to get around the rules. I tried watching Greco at the last Olympics, and it was just two guys rubbing foreheads against each other. I was like, this is – no, now I see why basketball players made the jokes about wrestlers in high school. So, freestyle is okay. I just don't like the rules of freestyle. I think Greco-Roman makes for like way more dynamic looking wrestling fights, but matches. But like I said, Greco, they just like to butt forwards now. So yeah, Olympics just waters down things, and it's just so corrupt. Like you take a corrupt thing like combat sports, and then you put it in an even bigger corrupt body, it's like even more organized with the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's like no, and then they have to decide: do we want amateurs only? Is it going to be pro-am? Is it going to be pros? Like, I hate that because like some sports are very strictly amateur only, and if you take money for anything, then you can't do it anymore in the Olympics, which is dumb. Like gymnastics does it. I think figure skating does it. I know gymnastics definitely does it. Like if you go to do a gymnastics show and you get paid for it, you're done in the Olympics, which I feel is like dumb because you're basically keeping these athletes poor, which
Yeah.
a lot of the gymnastics, they come from a rich background anyway, but depending on the country, at least in the US. But yeah, you're keeping these athletes like poor and starving. Yeah, I'm good with MMA as it is. If the IFMMA can find a way to keep getting funded and keep building up the amateurs, particularly for the ladies. Like I remember like a few years ago, Josh Barnett said there's no purpose in doing amateur MMA for the women because just to go into the pros. But I think now it's actually getting more established that you can find a place to get started with the amateurs and then decide, do you want to go pro or not? And then it doesn't hurt your pro record. Man, who is the biggest trash talker in WMMA? Ooh.
That's a tough question.
Just Pena for a little bit, for like a very short while.
Yeah, that's it. Is the easy choice Joanna? I mean, used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. I think she's kind of moved beyond that now. I
Yeah.
think she's more easygoing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea Chandler's trying real hard.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she's doing a very good job of it myself. It's like you can't like accuse someone of ducking you after the fight already done. Like do it right after the fight announcement, or do it before the fight even gets announced. You don't wait until after the fight to say, "Oh, they ducked me." It's like you should have spoken up before the fight.
Yeah.
Who else is big?
I mean, Livia Souza is kind of one under the radar, I would say. At least she used to be too in
Yeah,
Invicta.
well, because Invicta loved her, whereas the
Yeah.
UFC, she's just a body for them. It seems like, but
Frustrating.
she's a trash talker. Angela Hill talks some trash sometimes.
It's not usually too like mean though, is the thing.
No.
Like, she's like pretty good at being funny, but
I remember when Grasso got signed to the UFC, and she was on Twitter like, "I knew Grasso would run from me." It's like she ran to the UFC. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. That's definitely one that's kind of up in the air. That question.
Yeah, I'd have to think more because I think Valentina comes off as like the most arrogant sometimes. But it's easy to be that arrogant. Like she says it matter of factly, but I think just her attitude comes off as arrogant sometimes.
Yeah.
I just don't like her. I don't know.
Valerie Loretta?
Nah, I mean,
Nah.
she doesn't really trash talk.
Yeah.
Her are just booty pics.
And there's no answer to that one, Leon. Couldn't help you there. Don't know.
I think Dana just does not care for her. I think he might have seen her fight once or twice and just said like no. Because I do remember Cyborg was saying, sign Cindy Dandwa and Pam Sorensen, which they had already released Dandwa after one fight. Yep. And we're like, done. And then he mentioned Pam Sorensen in that same answer and was like, we don't sign those type of fights. It's like, ow.
Just crazy.
And I kind of feel like the sad part is with once Cyborg left Invicta, the featherweight division just became like the best of who's left gets the belt. So like who won it after her was Anderson. Mm-hmm. Anderson left, and then
Felicia
won it, a vacant title. Felicia left, and Pam picked up the vacant title. So it's kind of the same as their strawweight belt. It's like
yeah,
lost a lot of value, unfortunately, just because the UFC signs the champions right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was hoping Van Buren would defend the belt at least once, but UFC's like, hey, we need a short notice opponent. So
yeah, Van Buren was even, yeah, Van Buren though, she was even like open to the idea of like a super fight, champion versus champion fight against Jin. Like she was all on board with that if she didn't get the offer, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Bellator signs a lot of one-off fights though with people. Because like Monica Choklikova beat Jade Durant, and she's not on their website anymore. So
for the European series, though, I think they do that with like pretty much everybody too, which is silly because they put on some good prospect fights this year. Yeah. At least I thought so.
Well, that's Scorpion Crunch.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's in contender for the WMMA Scene Awards for submission.
Should be. People are forgetting about that. People forget about that one.
So out there. Like I was like, what the heck is she doing? Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, that's the Watermelon Crunch.
Exactly.
I saw a fitness model do that.
Yeah.
Oh, Vanessa Demopoulos did that. Did you see that one? Like
the Scorpion Crunch?
No, she did the watermelon thing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
see that.
So she did it, and it was only on her Instagram story, so it was gone after 24 hours. And the way she did it, you had to press twice because they said it was inappropriate.
That's hilarious.
The way she did it, she had her legs up over her head and crushed the watermelon, and it was just like money shot on her face with the watermelon. I was simultaneously laughing my ass off and turned on at the same time. Okay, so that's cool.
That's impressive. That's funny. All right.
So any last questions? Because we went over 5 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
But they were good questions. So it took a while to get the questions going, but we got some good ones. So any final question? Next question gets it. Give them a few minutes. Don't everybody jump at once, guys. Come on. I know there's only 2 of you right now watching live, but
Probably just Za and Leon.
Or no, I think it might be the Juice.
Oh, right.
Juice MMA.
Shout out to Juice. Good
What
people.
was Requiem for a Dream? Juice Man, Juice Man, Juice Man. Or
I don't remember that.
yeah, she was watching the guy on TV.
Oh, right.
Got the diet pills from, and they were like, Juice Master, Juice Master.
Yep.
Juice Man. I hate that movie though. It's so sad.
It's brutal, man. That's a real horror film right there. I watched that for the first time this year, actually.
Huh. Cindy trash talks a lot. I remember Belcher cut her, and she kept on.
I don't know if I'd call that trash talk though. I remember.
No, she does call out for a lot of fights. Like I remember there was the narrative for a little while, and it was more fun, like tongue in cheek than anything. That Cyborg was ducking Dandwa.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I had fun with that. I was like, she's ducking Cindy. She's ducking Cinderella. And then I was mad because Invicta, like, she beat Megan Anderson, and then Invicta never brought her back, which can't even say it was because she's from Europe, because they kept bringing in European fighters.
I thought she had at least a fight right after that. I thought.
I don't think. Maybe one. I don't remember. But they definitely, like, avoided putting Megan in with grapplers after that.
Yeah, she fought Jessamine Duke after that, but that was it then.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, because she got Jessamine Duke in like a collar tie submission, like a straight arm bar.
Yep.
All right, so that's it for the questions. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up. So Drake, tell us where we can find you at.
All right, you guys. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DrakeRiggs_, as we had on the screen here. Pretty much everything is on Twitter. Doing work for MiamiNews.com, The Scrap, The Body Lock, Fansite a little bit, BeachAFan.com, all over the place. Got the Broadened Horizon show that I do before and after Rising events. So we are done with 2021. Most recent episode was episode 6, which dropped last week, I believe. That is out now. You can check it out on MiamiNews.com and my YouTube channel, youtube.com/DrakeRiggs. And then, of course, the WMMA Today podcast is every Wednesday, and tomorrow, special start time, 4 p.m., as I will be doing 3, maybe 4 live shows as we get ready for Ryzen 26. So yeah, just
time or Eastern?
Pacific time, my bad. Pacific time is all the times there. So all that stuff's on my Twitter though. So essentially just follow me on Twitter at DrakeRiggs_. And I'll leave with one last plug. Happy 2021, everybody. Happy New Year's. But if you have not checked out Becoming Mega Megu, the Megumi Fuji story, big in-depth piece that I did this year on the life and legend of one of the best ever, please check that out. That is at the top of my Twitter pin as well. So
that's a great article.
Thank you.
I keep meaning to do a review of it, which I'll get to sometime.
All good. Take your time.
Hopefully before COVID kills us all.
Right.
Leon had one last question. Highlight of 2020.
Oh. Highlight of 2020. For me, it's probably seeing Kanako finally debut in the UFC. Just because I've been following her for so long now and I'm a big fan of hers. And seeing her make it to the UFC, and unfortunately it was against, another favorite of mine in Randa, but just how great she looked and just finally arriving in the UFC. That was something that I really enjoyed. Of course, Whaley versus Joanna was awesome. Great highlight there in terms of a fight and moment and everything. Versosa versus Stoliarenko, I think, needs more love because that fight happened the day before. Bloodiest fight I've ever seen in my life. That's a fight of the year.
Before Joanna versus Zan. And everybody forgot about it.
Yep, it totally took.
They were like, what? They're too flat?
Took away the shine. So I think those are the top 3 I would probably mention, but if I'm going to pick one out personally, I would probably say Kanako debuting. It has me very excited.
I'm almost tempted to make Stoliarenko Versosa my fight of the year just to trigger butthurt. But I was like, nah, I can't do it. Maybe I will. I haven't.
Yeah, we'll see.
2021's not over yet, so
Yep.
My personal highlight, I had to think hard on this one, but I think it comes down to what's her name? I know. Hold on. How did I forget her name already? Okay, Tomo Maesawa come from behind win over Hikaru Aono.
Good shout out.
To retain the Deep Jewels Atomweight title and retire as the champion.
I'm ashamed I forgot about that. That's a great one.
I mean, she was just getting dominated in that fight. Came back in the second round, and it looked like the third round was going to be more of the same, and then just came back, got that beautiful guillotine choke. And, I mean, I felt bad for Hikaru after that because, I mean, her day was just ruined. But to watch them go immediately, like after that, Maesawa into her retirement ceremony, which, like I keep saying, JMMA does retirements right because they almost force someone to stay retired because, like, we did this whole ceremony for you. You can't come back and fight now.
Yeah.
Whereas, like in the West and the U.S., it's like, hey, I'm retired. And then a week later, like, no, I'm not retired. Give me. Then it's like, or your UIFA, but hey, I'm retired. And it's like, I don't want to retire anymore. A year later, I'm not retired anymore. Give me a title fight. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Or Couture, you got Manny Couture too. Like literally came back out of retirement on a phone call, drunk, saying, "Hey Dana, how about if I come out of retirement and fight Tim Sylvia for the heavyweight belt?" Dana's like, "Yeah, definitely."
Yes, please.
Dana White was just like, "Hold on, counting money." But yeah, Maesawa was the highlight. Just watching her win and retire, and now that red belt, the Jules red belts are now retired, and they're going to start the. Did you see that yet?
No, that's awesome. Though.
Actual deep Jules, white belt.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I have a picture of it on my community posts page. So
okay, that's awesome.
Amp the Rocket already got hers for microweight,
and
then they're going to do the atomweight tournament starting in March, and the winner's going to get that new white belt.
Okay. Very cool.
54 is giving a thumbs up. You're late, Blue. We're getting ready. All right. So Drake gave where he's at. You know where to find me. WMMA Scene Now on here. You can also find me at now WMMA on Twitter. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's LETO1776. But I almost never post anything. It's half personal, half MMA. But you can follow me there if you want. Other than that, thanks for joining me, Drake.
Yes, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, well, next time we'll do it on yours, I think. Or next time we'll have to find someone else that'll join. So maybe like, you got Steve, he can join, or we'll find somebody. We'll try to
figure it out.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for joining me, Drake, and thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't yet, please hit that thumbs up, give me a like. And while you're at it, go ahead. If you haven't yet, subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Go subscribe to Broadened Horizons podcast and WMMA Today podcast as well for Drake. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.